Imagine venturing into the Oregon wilderness, where the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary and reality blurs with the supernatural. Get ready for a hair-raising journey through the mysteries that lurk in the shadows of Oregon's most secluded places that will keep you on the edge of your seat. This is the stuff nightmares are made of. And it all happened right here in Oregon's backyard. A few years ago, my cousin, deeply rooted in his role as a sheriff, found himself stationed near Bend, Oregon. He chose a quaint cabin nestled among the woods, standing not far from the edge of a sprawling complex. The solitude of the location often left him with the melodies of nocturnal wildlife, accompanying the serenity of the woods. On a particularly quiet evening, after coming home from an exhaustive shift, he spotted a raccoon mischievously sifting through his trash. As it scampered towards the nearby thicket, barely illuminated by the gentle glow of his cabin's security lights, he sighed with annoyance. The frequent disturbances by wildlife had tested his patience, and on this night he decided to act. Swiftly, he went into his cabin and retrieved his night rifle, equipped with a state-of-the-art night vision scope. Plunging his cabin into darkness by switching off the lights, he positioned himself discreetly on a concealed corner of his porch, waiting for the little critter to reappear. Rebram! As minutes passed in the hushed ambience, the silence of the forest was suddenly pierced by a series of low-frequency thudding sounds. The noise wasn't fleeting. It came repeatedly, 10 times, rhythmic and unmistakable. He knew the melodies of the woods, given his passion for hunting, and this was no song he recognized. It wasn't the wind, nor any creature he knew of. The sound was reminiscent of a wooden hammer tapping steadily. His curiosity piqued. He began asking fellow hunters if they'd encountered such a phenomenon. On another evening, while patrolling a remote back road surrounded by majestic, ancient cedar trees on one side and a thick underbrush on the other, the same noise emerged from the depths of the forest. He tried convincing himself that it was just his mind echoing the memories of that eerie sound from his cabin. However, as days turned into weeks, the sound became increasingly frequent, not just near his home, but also during his patrols. My cousin, a grounded man who always believed in logic, started to wrestle with his thoughts. Was this some figment of his imagination, or was the forest hiding a secret? One night, as the shadows deepened, he caught sight of a mysterious figure along the tree line. This wasn't an ordinary creature. It stood taller than any man he'd ever encountered. The creature's silhouette, combined with its oddly familiar sound, sent chills down his spine. Without a second thought, he decided to venture closer, his trusty pistol at the ready. With each step, the gravel crunched beneath his boots, echoing his growing anxiety. The figure momentarily vanished, only to reappear further away, still making that haunting sound. As he pursued deeper into the heart of the forest, the thudding suddenly ceased, plunging the woods into an unsettling silence. Straining his ears, he caught a new sound, a metallic clatter, as if a hefty object was being dragged across the forest floor. He recalled this as the most baffling part of the entire ordeal. My cousin, a seasoned outdoor enthusiast, grappled with two competing feelings. On one hand, his experience in the wild had taught him to recognize when to retreat. On the other, an insatiable curiosity beckoned him closer to the sound at the end of the path. Venturing further, he discovered an ancient shed half reclaimed by nature, a fading memory from a time when loggers had a functioning camp there. With heightened senses, he sought any sign of life or movement. The metallic noise intensified, freezing him in his tracks. The shed's crumbling door, hanging off its hinges, shuddered in rhythm. Yet the sound, it seemed, emanated from within. Taking a deep breath and clutching his firearm, he nudged the door open. Suddenly silence. Inside, a rusty logging chain gently swayed, its links brushing the concrete floor. There was no other sign of life. Although he didn't feel threatened, an unsettling sensation of being watched lingered. This unnerved him so much that he resolved never to visit that part of the woods again. Whenever he recounted the story to me, he was adamant about one thing. He had never faced anything like this in all his outdoor adventures, and he had no intention of reliving it. So, what's your take on his experience? Even after hearing his account, I'm unsure of what to think. Was it possibly a Bigfoot or something else? Gaining some clarity or closure on the matter would be appreciated. Last autumn, while elk hunting in Oregon's secluded wilderness, Tom and I had a perplexing encounter. We had nestled in a dense spruce forest when Tom nudged me, signaling he'd heard something. I strained my ears but couldn't discern any unusual sound. As we continued our wait, Tom tried to mimic the bugle of a bull elk. Nearly an hour later, Tom's insistent pointing directed my gaze to a dense cluster of spruces. Through my binoculars, I spotted two bright yellow orbs set unusually high off the ground, faintly aglow amidst the dark foliage. Initially dismissing it as a trick of light or perhaps a trail marker, I handed the binoculars to Tom. His reaction was unmistakably one of shock. Peering again, I observed a figure suggested by those glowing eyes shift as though observing us before vanishing into the dark. Moments later, the yellow luminescence resurfaced some distance away. Tom and I were at a loss. We had ample experience in these woods, encountering various wildlife, but this was uncharted territory. A tense silence enveloped us as we tried to rationalize our sighting. Though stories of the strange and inexplicable abound, this felt unique. We decided to inspect the area at dawn, perhaps hoping for some tangible evidence, but the following morning yielded no further insights into our mysterious encounter. Still grappling with what I had witnessed, my mind replayed the ethereal glow of those orbs, suspended high in the wilderness. Every blink seemed to bring them back into view, haunting my thoughts. I appreciate you giving me the space to share this. I know my recounting was quite extended. That brings to mind another encounter from my past in the town I used to call home, Bend, back in 2012. Known for its picturesque landscapes and its laid-back, almost bohemian vibe, Bend is a nature lover's haven surrounded by lush forests and stretching desertscapes to the east. At 23, I found myself at a casual bonfire on a friend's property in Falls Creek, a secluded part of Bend that leans more towards the wilderness. Amid the spirited evening, a few of us decided to tread a naturally formed trail that led into a thicket of trees, leading to a clearing defined by a lone tree set against the backdrop of a hill. A dim streetlight bathed the area in a gentle glow. Engrossed in conversation, we were interrupted by a noise reminiscent of a dog sniffing, though no dogs were in sight. It was transient, leaving us with an unsettled feeling, but no cause for immediate alarm. Now, I should note that Bend is no stranger to wildlife, black bears included. I was well acquainted with the sounds and signs of the local fauna, but the next sequence of events defied any such familiarity. As we resumed our discussion, the sniffing returned, this time enveloping us from all directions. Then, amidst the hazy glow, we noticed an imposing figure beneath the solitary tree. Resembling a bear, but standing upright with an unsettling asymmetry, it had an eerie, almost nightmarish gait. Its fur seemed to shimmer in the dim light, taking on hues of green and brown. As it let out a distressing scream, the air grew thick with tension, causing my friend and me to retreat instinctively. The once jovial atmosphere of our gathering seemed to dissipate, replaced by a haunting stillness. The memories of its haunting scream and peculiar form linger, an enigma from a night I can't quite forget. The atmosphere grew heavy with unease, each breath seemingly weighted with a mix of wonder and apprehension. My friend and I, adrenaline coursing through our veins, stumbled back towards our group. Their concerned eyes greeted us from the property's edge, a wordless acknowledgement of the unknown that lurked nearby. As the creature's peculiar gait took it farther away and into the dense woodland, our group sprang into a whirlwind of chatter, attempting to piece together the mystery of the night. Was it an undiscovered species? Or perhaps an oddly evolved bear? Whatever it was clear that we'd experienced something truly out of the ordinary. While the remainder of the night passed without incident, the shadows of that memory still send shivers down my spine. In a related vein, back in the summer of 1972, whispers spread about a creature nicknamed the Rogue Beast spotted on the fringes of Rogue River National Forest in Oregon. Dave, a local, shared tales of his face-to-face encounter with this creature during a trek. He described it as a furry, two-legged being about the size of a deer with a distinct, almost otherworldly, triangular head. Its dark brown fur rustled as it moved, but it was its peculiar insect-like movements and chilling screams that haunted Dave the most. Flash forward to the fall of 1982, the Rogue Beast's legend resurfaced. Near Prospect, close to Crater Lake National Park, two locals set out on a night drive, hoping to spot deer using their car headlights. As they made their way on the muddy, uneven road left damp from recent rain, Gerald, an engineer with a passion for hunting, steered his classic Chevrolet van. Beside him, his close friend and hunting ally, Stephen, eagerly scanned the surroundings, hoping for signs of deer. However, around 1:15, as they navigated a curve, an unexpected silhouette dashed into the path of their headlights, revealing yet another glimpse of the enigmatic rogue beast. Emerging from the darkness was a colossal creature, about the size of a typical deer but unlike any animal they'd ever seen in the area. Its body was enveloped in a dark brown fur, shimmering mysteriously under the headlights. The face, triangular and somewhat bat-like, hosted eyes that glimmered, capturing the beams of light and sending them back. Yet the most unsettling aspect was its walk. It moved on two legs, its limbs moving in a way that felt almost alien, reminiscent of some insects. As they slammed on the brakes, the creature raced across the road, releasing a scream that echoed, chilling their spines. This wasn't just any animal's cry. It held an eerie, almost human quality. The woods, once familiar and comforting, now seemed daunting and filled with secrets. They remained silent in the aftermath, hearts pounding, minds racing. Years have since passed since Gerald and Steve's encounter with the rogue beast. Now in their 70s, the tale has been told countless times, its mysteries deepening with each retelling. The nature of the rogue beast, whether a mutation, an extraterrestrial being, or something else, remains unresolved. The question remains, will others from Oregon come forward with their own stories? Taking you to another tale, I recall a particular November night in 2015. Nestled in my small cabin at the Oregon forest's edge, I was serving as a ranger, seeking solace in nature after years of firefighting. As per habit, I drift into sleep on my couch, the gentle warmth and light from the fireplace being my only companions in the darkness. The cabin, with its windows offering a view of the surrounding woods, always made me feel connected to nature. By my side was my trusty old service pistol, a relic from my days in the force. I've always been grounded in reality, dismissing tales of ghosts and scoffing at UFO stories, much to the amusement of old friends back in the city. But that fateful evening would challenge every belief I held dear. But awakened suddenly, a feeling of unease prickling my senses, I was greeted by an unfamiliar soft white glow permeating through my front window. At first, I attributed it to the dying embers of the fire. But then, an intense blue radiance pierced the window, banishing any remnants of drowsiness from my mind. Squinting against the intrusive brightness, I tried to decipher the source of the light. My initial thoughts wandered to the possibility of a stranded hiker or perhaps a confused tourist. In my haste, I grabbed my trusty sidearm from the coffee table, approaching the window cautiously. The sight that greeted me momentarily numbed the cold biting at my feet. My little cabin, a symbol of serenity, had become the prologue to a tale beyond imagination. There, radiating mysterious blue and silvery hues, was a sizable cylindrical object, levitating amidst the snow-laden branches. A profound silence enveloped the object, contrasting sharply with the turmoil in my mind. Shaking my head in disbelief, as if trying to dispel a vivid dream, I found myself driven by an unyielding curiosity. With my pistol tucked securely, I donned my jacket, laced up my boots, and edged towards the door. As it groaned open, breaking the night's stillness, I hesitantly stepped forward. And out the snow beneath me highlighted intricate geometric designs and unfamiliar symbols seemingly projected from the hovering craft. Then, without warning, the object hummed to life, casting pulsating lights which seemed to dance with the rhythm of my pounding heart. A primal fear urged me to retreat, but an inexplicable pull drew me closer. As I ventured nearer, the craft's blue beams abruptly fixated on me, holding me captive in both terror and wonder. Every fiber of my being screamed to flee, yet I found myself paralyzed just a few yards from this unearthly entity. Suddenly, a brilliant blue ray consumed me, and then nothingness. Awakening to the morning's embrace, I found myself back on my couch, my gun resting nearby. Disoriented and grappling with fragments of memories, I stumbled upon footprints in the snow, bizarrely large and devoid of any boot imprints. The experience forever altered my perception of reality. Now, shifting gears, let me paint a picture of my Oregon hometown. Set amidst expansive woods, sprawling farmlands, and sporadic traffic lights, this place is the epitome of tranquility. Central to my tale is a remote township cradled by raw nature. And every dusk, my energetic 10-year-old nephew and I would weave through the back roads in search of deer. One such evening, as we meandered beside endless pine trees on one side and dense woods on the other, the unexpected transpired. From the left, a creature resembling a wolf, but staggeringly large, emerged. Its 8-foot frame and peculiar gait, almost human-like in its awkwardness, took us by surprise. This wasn't any ordinary animal. It was as if a tale from ancient folklore had come to life before our eyes. Now, let's delve into the peculiar aspects of its anatomy. The most striking feature was its hind limbs, which sported an additional joint or protrusion, lending an eerie and uneven gait to its stride. I found myself standing in awe, utterly transfixed by this enigmatic creature as it traversed our path. The creature's dark, matted fur seemed to ripple and twist, creating an otherworldly aura around it. Despite catching it off guard, its movements appeared surprisingly calculated, as if it were well versed in eluding curious onlookers. But what left an indelible mark were its eyes. Colossal glowing orbs that dwarfed even the largest of Moose's peepers. These orbs reflected the full moon's brilliance overhead, raising questions about their origin. I couldn't help but ponder if encounters like this had sparked Native American folklore or inspired other tales. Its gaze momentarily locked onto us while it crossed the road, and that look felt like it pierced our very souls. Then, the creature continued its peculiar, hopping lope. The creature's tail was another mind-boggling feature, pushing the boundaries of conventional mammalian anatomy. It extended about 3 to 4 feet, swaying listlessly in the air as it moved. Although the sighting lasted mere moments, it felt like an eternity, largely due to the surreal nature of the encounter. My nephew and I were left dumbstruck. Not a word exchanged during the entire episode, let alone any attempts to capture it on camera. As it disappeared into the farmland, swallowed by the rows of towering pine trees, it left behind a rustling that gradually melded into the symphony of the nocturnal forest. Upon returning home, we shared this unforgettable tale with our bewildered relatives. Some proposed mundane explanations, such as a bear with mange or a lost kangaroo. However, none of these descriptions matched what we had witnessed. I sincerely hope that I'm not the only one to have experienced something so outlandish, and in sharing my story, I hope to encourage others who may have had similar encounters to come forward. Over and out from Central Oregon. My encounter took place in Medford, Oregon. Now, I'm not claiming that I stumbled upon a legitimate cryptid, but I've been searching for answers for hours, and I've hit a dead end. The best approximation I can offer is a grizzly bear, but the catch is, this region doesn't have grizzlies. It all started when I spotted something about 100 yards away, emerging from the woods with a gait reminiscent of a wolf, trudging through thick snow. It was nearly pitch black, save for its unusually large, reflective eyes shining back at me like tennis balls. Its limbs, slender like a deer's, made it appear twice my size, and I stand at a respectable 6 feet. The creature's fur was long and seemingly unkempt, and its face bore an uncanny resemblance to a fox. As it moved, its lips drew back, almost as if it was snarling in annoyance at being caught off guard. Yet, it didn't break its stride, covering the entire width of the otherwise deserted road in about 5 long strides before vanishing into the dense thicket of trees on the other side. I quickly texted my friend across the street about the strange sighting, only to receive a scoffing comment comparing it to a fox or buck. However, I just want to know if anyone else has come across something similar in these parts. To give you a better idea, this encounter happened on the back roads of Medford, specifically near Oregon Route 62. The creature had a distinctly fox-like face and lacked antlers, which would rule out a buck. To investigate further, I embarked on a cold morning walk. The next day, straining my senses for any signs of unusual activity. The forest's border near Route 62 bore traces of something heavy passing through, with leaves crushed and the ground disturbed. Following this path led me to a small clearing with a crude makeshift den, though no tangible evidence of the creature's presence. In an attempt to gather more information, I placed a trail camera nearby, cunningly concealed among the foliage, hoping to capture a glimpse As of now, I've captured nothing definitive or noteworthy enough to share. But if I manage to capture something sharper and more focused, I'll certainly share it with you. As we conclude this journey into the mysteries of the Oregon wilderness, remember that our world is full of enigmatic wonders waiting to be discovered. The tales we've explored today are but a glimpse into the hidden corners of our planet, where the unknown still thrives. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, the allure of the unexplained is undeniable. If you've encountered something strange or have your own story to share, don't hesitate to let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. We thank you for joining us on this adventure, and may your curiosity continue to lead you into the uncharted realms of the extraordinary. Until next time, keep your eyes open, your mind curious, and your sense of wonder alive.